Hey everyone, Kristen here. As you know, I believe homemade is best, but it doesn't need to be complicated. And today I'm going to share with you a dessert that's typically tedious to make, and we're going to speed it up using our Instant Pot. Today's all about rice pudding. We're going to make a delicious, creamy, rich, sweet rice pudding, and it's going to come together almost completely hands-off using the Instant Pot. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I have about 1/3 cup of raisins here, and I'm going to soak them in a little bit of spiced rum. This is totally optional, but it does add a nice, bright surprise of flavor, but it's only for adults. So if you're making this for kids, simply soak your raisins in some hot water, or you can soak some raisins in rum and hot water so that both the adults and the kids can enjoy the raisins in their rice pudding, or just omit the raisins altogether. Now, for the rice, we are going to use 1 cup of Basmati long grain white rice. Rice pudding needs to be made with white rice for best results. And you want to place your rice in a fine mesh strainer. I have 1 cup of rice today, and we're going to rinse that really well under cold water. I rinse it for about 2 minutes. And then I'm going to add my rinsed rice right to my inner pot, along with 1 cup of tap water. And then I'm going to add a pinch of salt, which will just bring out the sweetness in the dessert. 1 cinnamon stick. If you don't have cinnamon sticks, add 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And then I'm going to grate some fresh nutmeg. About 1 teaspoon. Smells so good. If you think you don't like nutmeg, chances are you haven't used it grated from a bulb. It tastes so much better than anything powdered in a jar. Speaking of powdered spices though, I'm going to add just a pinch, not even 1/8 teaspoon of ground cloves here. That is just going to add an incredible warmth to the rice pudding. If you don't have cloves on hand, don't use it. I add them to things like my cinnamon rolls and then pumpkin pie, things like that, just to give it a nice warming flavor. That's it for this part. We're gonna pop our lid on the Instant Pot. Make sure our venting knob is pointed towards sealed. And we're gonna set the cook time for 5 minutes on high pressure. I know I typically cook white rice for only 3 minutes, but because we're making this into a pudding, we want it a little bit softer. So we're gonna cook it for 5 minutes on high pressure, and then we're going to allow for 15 minutes of natural pressure release. Our rice has cooked now, and like I said, you wanna let pressure release for at least 15 minutes. My pressure released at about 13 minutes all on its own, so that's fine too. I'm gonna open it up. Smells like Christmas in here, those warming spices, although this is good year round. Just gonna use a fork to remove the cinnamon stick here. You wanted to go ahead and discard that cinnamon stick. It's released all its flavor. And then I'm just fluffing the rice with a fork here. But we're not done. This is not pudding at all. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit cancel on the Instant Pot, and then we're gonna turn saute on here, and we are going to add in 1 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk. Why I'm using sweetened condensed milk here is because it's just milk that's been concentrated with sugar. So the sugar has dissolved into the sweetened condensed milk. It's gonna give this pudding a nice rich consistency, and it's not gonna be gritty at all because, well, the sugar has already dissolved. And then I'm gonna add in like a 1/2 cup here to start of whole milk. You could use cream if you want a really rich pudding. I find it's not necessary since we've used the sweetened condensed milk. And you're just gonna stir this until everything is nice and combined and your rice thickens up here. This liquid thickens up the cream and the sweetened condensed milk. And typically, rice pudding has eggs in it. It's made with an egg custard, just like you would make with ice cream, which is just milk or cream and vanilla and eggs and sugar. We are keeping the egg out. It's not necessary at all, especially since we're adding it after pressure has cooked. And also that's just going to allow anybody with an egg allergy to enjoy it. But also when you add an egg to warm pudding, you have to temper it in, and that can be a little bit temperamental. And so people have some trouble with that. So I wanted to alleviate that fear for you guys, so this recipe can be made by any level of cook. It's really not gonna take long here to come to a bubble, and you can add in more cream as needed. I have a full cup of cream here. Well, I'm using whole milk today, to be honest. You can use cream, like I said. You could even use skim milk. It'll still be delicious. I started with about 1/2 cup. You want to add a little bit more milk as needed. I don't think I'm gonna need much more here. This is bubbling up nicely, and so I'm gonna hit cancel. I didn't need to add any milk there. It'll thicken up a little bit as it cools. Ooh, getting a facial there. I'm gonna add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Just give that a stir. One thing I forgot to mention at the start of this video that's really important is you wanna make sure your Instant Pot is really clean and your inner ring is clean. I have a sweet inner ring and a savory inner ring so that I don't intermix my desserts with like chili and stew flavors, because no matter how hard you clean those seals, they do hold a little bit of the flavor, and so that's just a tip I have, just to keep everything nice and separate. All right, we're ready to dish this out. This is a great holiday dessert. It's a great dessert to share with company. You can top it with a little bit of the raisins. I went ahead and drained those while the rice pudding was cooking. So perfectly spiced. I can taste the cinnamon, I can taste the nutmeg. Almost reminds me a little bit of eggnog, with the flavor of the nutmeg coming through. It's absolutely perfection and so easy to make. This is a great, great holiday dessert. In fact, you can finish off your holiday meal using my Instant Pot ham recipe, which I'll show you in my next recipe. Serve that as your main course. This is dessert, and everybody will sing your praises. Until next time, happy cooking.